Hey everyone, it's Teresa, and today I am going to be sharing with you my favorite Christmas DIYs from last year, and we're just going to go ahead and jump right on into them. Alright, so getting started, we are going to be duping, or really use as an inspiration, these little Christmas balls that are definitely used with some molds. I'm not going to make them pink though. I'm starting off with my IOD mold. This one is like the locks and keys one. And I am not using the IOD clay. That was because at this point I did not have it yet. I actually just opened up the box with it in there, so future ones, I'm going to try that out. It's supposed to be really, really good quality, so I'm excited to do that. Before I put my clay in there though, I did sprinkle in some of the cornstarch so it would come out easily enough. And then I'm just going to go around and kind of clean up all of the edges just so there's not a ton of little pieces left over. If you don't do that, you can take like a really small piece of like sandpaper to it or anything like that if you miss spots. It's kind of hard to do, to be honest. I had a hard time getting it like that really perfect, pristine edge, if it makes sense. But anyways, even with this clay, I got it off of Amazon. I did end up with a pretty decent like detail to it. So what I did is I put it on this ornament. That is what we're going to glue it to. I put it on there so it would start to set up and dry a little bit first, maybe for 30 minutes or so. And then what I'll do is I'll take my super glue, it's like Fix-It-All glue, whatever it's called. It's from the Dollar Tree. And then I just put it on there and I painted that completely in this dark hunter green color, which is actually Waverly Fern and Waverly ink mixed. And I'm taking some gold paint. I'm going to use this through the whole video, these colors. This one is brushed gold from Brushed Metal, Folk Art, something or other. There's lots of names for this one. And I'm going to just kind of basically brush over all of that detail. Now when you do that, it gives it a pretty bright look. We're going to layer it up. This is the way I like to do at least this kind of look. I don't know. I don't really know what to call it. Does it have a name? You guys will have to let me know if it has a name. After I did the gold, I'm going in with some black. And on this one, I'm more or less trying to pounce in there and trying to get inside all of the like insets. I think that makes sense. Let me know if it doesn't. I'm going to quickly hit it with my heat gun. That is like a multi-temperature one. That one is set on cool right now so I don't melt anything, because that sucker gets hot. And I'm going to take a flat brush with that same gold that I did the first layer of, and I'm going to brush over all of the raised areas. So I'm hoping that makes sense, slash you can kind of see what I'm doing. So once that is all done, like I said, I mean, you take your time with it, that way you can really make sure you hit all of the right areas. It's going to give it a lot more of a realistic look, because if you had like a little piece of metal, you know, the insets wouldn't necessarily be that shiny anymore, even if you shined it up, because you can't get to them easily. At least that's the story I'm telling myself in my mind. Anyways, to me, it does not look like a piece of clay. Maybe you could tell the difference. I don't know. You guys will have to let me know if you think it looks like it was made out of clay once we get down to the, you know, the end of it. And see, I'm just showing you all that detail. Like I said, it really brings it out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish off the top part of it. That little part on the top, it was like a silvery thing, but before I was going to use this for a different project like a few weeks ago, and I glued it down and I had to like rip it apart to get it to come off, so we're going to have to make a top of it. I'm just going to take some of this black twine from the Dollar Tree and wrap it around, kind of like the part that has all the ribbing. You want to glue it as you go, otherwise it comes off like it just did, and that's not going to help anybody. Once, eventually, I'm going to get it down a decent amount. You don't have to get it completely to the top, just depending on what you're putting up there. If you have like a really pretty like decorative knob, that would be really, really pretty on the top of this. I'm going to take some of that Fix-It-All adhesive glue again, and I'm going to put some on the insides as well as some on like the lip of that little opening. I was like, well, I needed to stay, and then I put some on, you know, like basically where the little wood bead meets the rest of the ornament. and then it wasn't sitting as well, it wasn't drying basically. I was gonna try and move it and do stuff before it was really dry, and I was not about to sit there and hold it forever. So I added a little bit of hot glue, and I'll finish wrapping that twine around. And I will take that same gold paint and do just a quick little dry brush of it up on the top. You can kind of pick and choose how you want to do this, if you want to do this. I went ahead and did a little bit of the dry brushing to the twine part as well. I'll put a little twine in there and seal everything. And here's how it turned out though. It turned out pretty nice. I really like this one. This is definitely my favorite. Alright, so here's a couple of different inspirations on this one. These ones are not going to be exactly the same, much like the last one wasn't, so they're kind of more like inspired by. Now I'm going to link the place I printed these off from. It is Creative Fabrica. Fabrica, I think that's how you say it. And I've got it linked below for you if you want to join in. They do have a subscription option, and I worked out a little deal with them where they will let my subscribers join in for $1 for the first month, and I believe it renews at $19. So if it's something you just want to go in, check out what's there, it gives you it for a pretty inexpensive option, and there's tons and tons of things to print. Now on these little tags, when you're lining them up, line them up off of the top, because obviously they're not all exactly the same size, as you have to trim it down like I'm doing there. But that is going to allow you to be able to get the holes lined up if you line it from the top. Now I've got some IOD stamps, and I just did a quick little, padding with the actual ink from IOD, the ink pads. They're my favorite. I tried to use a different one on a project recently, and it just didn't work as well. And these are from a new one. These stamps are available right now. They're called, I believe, Merry and Bright. I'm going to leave the place that I get my IOD stuff from. Her name is Kimberly, and she's from My Victorian Heart. She's super, super sweet. And I'll leave that linked for you below if you want to check her out. I've got this little pick. I got it from Joann's. I think I got it at like a buy one, get two free sale or something. And I'm just going to add just a little bit of that up on the top part. I just wanted to add a little bit of detail to this one. I was like on the fence of how to put it in there, but you can kind of pick and choose how you want to embellish stuff. I'll show you one in just a minute where I didn't do any of the embellishments. And this project would look actually really pretty too if you don't have any pattern behind it. I tried to pick some of these music tags that had less of the black, at least for one of them. This one has obviously got quite a bit of, the music showing. And now I'm using a couple of different stamps. This first one is that same Merry Christmas that I used on the first one. And then these little snowflakes are actually off of a pack that is retired. But sometimes you can find them though. There's different stockists, I believe they're called, that'll have them sometimes. And if Kimberly over at the My Victorian Heart doesn't have them, a lot of times she'll help you find one too. And here is how they both turned out on the tree. I love this tree, by the way. It's new. I can't get over how much I like it. All right, on to our next one. Now, these ones were actually inspired by this. I was going to do a chalk couture thing. It did not work for me at all. I don't know. I always have a hard time using chalk couture stuff on rounded surfaces. It just wasn't happening for me. So I've got some decoupage paper. This one is from Decoupage Queen. I get this from My Victorian Heart as well. And this is actually rice paper. So when you tear it, I ended up tearing it instead of cutting it. It leaves like a little furry trim. So just be aware of that. Going back, I probably should not have done that, but that's okay. Anyways, I do add some Mod Podge just to fix it down, and then I'm going to coat it in Mod Podge as well. And also, so you know, the color these little flat ornaments is Waverly ink. And I believe, yes, these ones came from the Dollar Tree also, these plastic ornaments. I took the lid off of them just so I could get the black underneath them, and I'm going to reattach these ones instead of fabricating my own little top part. Anyways, we are just going to do that one is done, and then I'm going to use this rub-on transfer that is from Prima. I'm going to trim it around to kind of make it fit the color scheme that I'm going with. I will tape it down, and the tape doesn't really help me that much. But I'm going to kind of work with it. And now since it's going on this thing that is rather rounded around, you know, around the perimeter of the ornament, it ends up kind of folding a little bit. The transfer itself, it gives it some creases, and I just kind of tried my best to get it in places that weren't either as noticeable or it wasn't over like my Santa Claus's face, the kid's face. Just trying to work it to where those little creases aren't as noticeable, and I wasn't worried about it. This style of like this Victorian kind of, you know, shabby chic look to these ornaments. I wasn't worried about having some imperfections, some different details in it. Once I've gotten it down, I am going to just smooth it around with the transfer paper just to get it kind of nice and stuck down. And I do give it a coat of Mod Podge with like the little spray bottle one. Yep. I'm just going to gloss that over with a brush, and here it is, all finished up, the two of them. They look great. I love them. I'm really loving this style for Christmas right now. All right, now I have from the Dollar Tree a flour sack towel. You get it in like the kitchen area. And I've got some more IOD stamps. These are from the pack that are currently available. And I'm just going to stamp those down up there in the corner. I don't know if it helped any, but I got a little brayer out just to kind of push it down in there. And I don't know if it made a difference, to be honest, between that and doing it with your fingers. I did this one as well, but I don't end up using this one. It didn't come out as crisp as I wanted it to. The stamps and everything, the stamps and the molds and all that, it's really just kind of getting used to it and practicing, and that's basically the gist of it, right? The more you use it, the better you are at it. Now I am going to use some stuff from Chalk Couture. I am a Chalk Couture designer, so I'll have these listed for you below in the description box. You'll see my Chalk Couture links. Go check them out. And obviously, you know, if you're still making Christmas stuff, these are great options. If not, check it out. There's tons and tons of things available right now. I'm going to use two different paste colors. This first one I didn't end up showing because I didn't like the way it looked. But on this one I am going to use both Shimmer Spruce and Black Velvet. I had to think about the name on that one. I was about ready to apply it, then I was like, nope, I don't want those strings. So it's really easy. You just tape it off. This is just some painter's tape. It's that easy. The actual transfer, the stencil part, that's what they call it. It is called a transfer. It is actually fabric. So when you put some, you know, when you actually add your tape to it, it's not going to hurt anything. I add a good glob, technical term, of the Shimmer Spruce, and then I'm going to add a good glob of the Black Velvet. Now, we're going to do a little bit different of a technique than just putting it on there. I'm going to take off my excess on the green color, and then I'll add it back into kind of like the middle area. I'll do the same thing on the black. Now, if you have excess left over when you're doing like just a regular like application of it, you can put it right back in the jar. And now I'm taking my finger and I am just going to mix the two to give it kind of like an ombre effect. It doesn't come across as well on this because I don't have a big area that I'm doing it on. But if you do it on a bigger project, it really is a cool effect. But here's how they turned out once I peeled it back. Now, they're fabric, obviously. They can't really sit on a tree like that. So I am going to just add a coat of Mod Podge on here, and I will kind of fix down my fabric. This wasn't really necessarily inspired by anything. I had a different idea initially that I saw from Pinterest, and it was like a really far distant interpretation of it, I guess. So I didn't even put the picture of it from what I'd seen from Pinterest. But I will then just give it a good coat of Mod Podge underneath and on top of that fabric. And this fabric is really nice to do chalking stuff onto. Like I showed you on this one right here, it's really easy, especially if you've never used fabric with it before. It's a good starter. As I was applying my Mod Podge, the black started to run a little bit. So what I ended up doing is just glossing over a little bit of where I chalked, and then I just left it and came back later and kind of gave it another good coat. What we'll do here is we're just going to, of course, trim down the fabric around this circle. And these are, I believe, a 4-inch, if I remember right. And then I'm going to take some sandpaper, and I'm just going to remove all the excess fabric. Now, if you go back and forth, it's going to give you more of a frayed edge. If you go straight down, it'll give you less frayed edge. Either way, it doesn't matter. It's kind of however you prefer it. Now I've got some Distress ink. Now this one is from Tim Holtz, and this is the color Walnut Stain. I'm just doing it just like you would if it was paper. I took I did around the edges first so that it was a little bit more concentrated, a little darker. And then I'll just do it all through the whole part that is covered in the fabric. I kind of liked the idea of it looking a little bit more worn, a little bit more of like a stained look, because it's just, to me, it just fit better, right? You have to let me know, would you rather it without the stain? Do you like it with the stain? And now on this one, I'm gonna get a little fancy with it. I've got my crocodile, and I'm just gonna punch a couple of holes in the top part of my ornaments because they need somewhere to hang, right? And I had a little frayed bit of fabric. You can use a little bit of a lighter, and that's another thing I was thinking about trying too. Instead of cutting off the excess, I've seen where some people will burn it. I haven't tried it yet myself. I'm kind of a little intimidated because I don't want to set my house on fire, but I might have to try it sometime soon. I saw somebody do it with a napkin so far. Have you guys seen anybody do it with fabric? Do they potentially burn their house down? Because those are my concerns. I'm gonna add that same twine that I've done for the other projects, just kind of keeping everything the same, And then once we do that, we'll pretty much be done with this project. I think they all turned out super cute. So yep, there we go, Teresa. Tie that knot. All right. I like to cut off the excess. I don't want them to be too long, too shaggy. But here's how they turned out too. Turned out pretty cute as well. I'm pretty happy with all of my my ornaments today. And here's a little video of all of them. So I have 4 triangles. They are serving as trees in this instance. I just cut them out of a piece of plywood that had sit in the garage. I think I found it for free. And I just cut them out using my miter saw. And I'm gonna mix some wood tint. These are both from Faux. One is in the color gray, one is in the color walnut. I'm gonna add a little spritz of water, and I'm just gonna mix that up really nicely and kind of get like a darker gray. I was thinking I didn't want them to be too dark. I don't want them to be too light. So I just go in with a pretty generous amount. And here in a minute, I am just I'm doing this and spritzing a little bit of water at the same time, just because it's not gliding on as much as I would like it to. And a lot of that is the plywood, because it's obviously a much rougher surface than like a treated nice piece of wood. But we were going for something really rustic on these trees. So I put it down, and I'm going to just wipe off the excess with a paper towel. And then I'm going to take a little bit of that same stain, kind of going around the outside of it, thinking you know what, I don't like that much either. It wasn't working for me. So instead, I'm going to just grab some ink from Waverly, a little bit of water, and do kind of that same idea, just kind of stippling it on the outsides of the triangle, going a little bit messy on the inside. I just wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with these trees. But I wanted it, once I was done with it, I was like, well, it's not quite dark enough for what I wanted to do. And then I didn't think it was a little too messy, so I spritzed on a little bit more water and just kind of blended it in a little bit. It's kind of all to each their own. Do whatever you would like to do, whatever makes you happy. I was going, like I said, more rustic direction on these. And then I ended up doing just the black brushing on the sides of all of my triangles. And I was really lazy because these are for me and I know where they're going, and I didn't do the back. Don't judge me, people. They're not going to go anywhere where you can see the backside. All right. All of them are done. And now I'm going to take a little bit of the Waverly plaster chalk paint, and I'm just going to go over kind of the corners of them, bringing it in a little bit, kind of like snow. ish. Obviously, it doesn't look like snow, but you know what I'm getting at. You know the feeling I'm bringing out, kind of, in these things. Like I said, I didn't really know where I was going with these. Now, the stencil we're using here, we're using some Chalk Couture transfers. That is what this entire video is going to be, and this is going to be kind of inspiration. These transfers are available right now. If you don't have a saw to cut your own triangle tree things, you can buy, they have them available on the site as a actual surface to chalk on. And what I'm doing here is I'm applying some surface wax. This is obviously a very rough wood. The smoother your surface that you're going to chalk on, the better. The less bleeding you're going to get, the less, you know, all of that stuff. Now I'm going to take my transfer. I cut out the tree that I wanted to use. They have 4 different ones on this particular transfer. It's going to come in a 12 by 18 sized sheet of transfers. I don't know what else to call it. And what I'm doing right now, like I said, is I'm fuzzing it, and that's going to basically take away some of the stickiness and make it to where it's going to stick on our surface without sticking too much where you can't get it off. That's not good. You don't want to not be able to pull it off, because if you have a hard time pulling it off, you're going to either stretch it or you're going to end up leaving behind some of that teal. Clearly I'm having a hard time here. I'm just kind of trying to line it up as best I can. Now, if you use the actual surfaces that Chalk Couture makes with it, they're made to fit exactly, but I made them myself. I kind of guesstimated it for the most part, and it turned out okay. I'm all right with it, though. Once I've gotten it on the way I want, I am going in with the color Dune. This is a chalk paste. It's a little different than paint. It's a little bit thicker in some senses. Basically, what it's going to do is it's going to glide through the silk screen. Any of the opening areas that you see on these transfers is a silk screen. It's not like if you cut something from Cricut and there's nothing there and you weeded it out. This is a little different. It's kind of like the magic of Chalk Couture, if you will. Once I have gotten it all in there, you go through and you basically remove the excess. Anything that didn't go through the silk screen, you pull off, put it back in the jar, use it the next time. And then you peel it off, as I am doing right here, to reveal a gorgeous design, if I do say so myself. I wanted to tone it down a little bit because, like, this entire project, I was obviously not happy with any color choice I made. So I took some Folk Art Antique Wax, and I'm just going to do it a very gentle coat over all of the lettering. Despite all of the color changes and different choices I made throughout this project, I'm really happy with the way it turned out. It's very rustic, and like I said, I'm really happy with it. And I'm going to show you apparently the entire process. I did take quite a while to do this because I wanted to do it very delicately. The wax did not disrupt the chalk paste at all, I will say, though. It was a good choice. Anything too watery would potentially have a problem. But here it is, all set, all done. I wanted just to do the one tree in the set. All right, I have the backside of one of these double-sided boards that I got from Target. I'm going to hit it with just a little bit of surface wax. This part is definitely optional. These boards and stuff that you're going to get outside of Chalk Couture sometimes are painted, so it's not a bad thing to do, but definitely don't have to do it, especially if your transfer isn't like brand new or you fuzzed it quite a bit. I read ahead, skipped that since I've already showed you how to do that pretty much at length. And this is another one of those tree ones. They're called like the tree cutouts. So that's what the surface is. But anyways, I'm going to take some shimmer frost and just go over the entire thing. This thing would be so stinking cute now that I'm looking at it on red. Like if you did like a red background with the shimmer frost on top of it, or the other way around, like a white background with the red on top of it, it would be really, really cute because it would give it that like sweater look. And I'm gonna have to do that now. I'm gonna have to do that at some point. Maybe I'll make like a sweater with it. Except I'd get to wear it like maybe twice because in Florida it's just never that cold and I get hot super easily. So I I don't know. Maybe I won't make a sweater. Who knows? Maybe I'll just make a shirt. Christmas shirt. Anyways, with the shimmer, you want to kind of give it at least one extra pass. Like you go through, you add it all like you normally would, then you add a little bit more and kind of just glide through it again. What that's going to help you do is make sure you get any of that little bit of glitter like onto your actual surface that you're chalking on. Otherwise, it doesn't give the same gorgeous effect. And then here we go. Yes, there we go. I'm going to go ahead and do the peel. This is live time, so peeling it doesn't take, you don't have to do super slow, but you don't want to like rip it off like crazy. Once I did that, I was like, well, I need a little something more. So I'm going to take the bottom part of that other tree, kind of make sure I got it lined up well enough. And I am going to use the color Dune. Here in a second, I'll show you. And I'm going to do just the holiday tradition. I thought that would be kind of cute, you know, just something, you know, a little different. You can obviously use a lot of those different words on pretty much anything. Like you can mix them up. They're all a very similar font, so I think that they go together nicely, but you can do all kinds of different things. It doesn't have to be in the shape of the tree. You can use one word, you can use all the words. So I really like that this one is kind of included in that pack, just because it gives you a lot of options if you don't want to do it in the shape of a tree. We should do a word count today. You guys should let me know how many times I say the word tree. That would be kind of fun to know. Anyways, once that is finished, I'll put away. I always like to put my lids on like as soon as I'm done so you don't get them to dry out. Peel it on off, and there it is. Just perfect. I did not do the antique wax on that writing though. I left it as it is, and I think it's super simple and pretty stunning, in my opinion. All right, so this block of wood, you're gonna laugh at me. This block of wood is actually part of a chair. I've been kind of trying to challenge myself to use a chair in as many projects as possible. Is a chair that I got for $3.99 from Goodwill, and I'm just trying to see how many I can do. Anyways, this is the block from like the seat part of the chair, and I just took some really watered down plaster color chalk paint from Waverly, and then I'm going to rub off all of the excess, and that's going to kind of still fade a little bit more than what you're seeing there, and that's just because it's just kind of sets into the wood a little bit. And now I've already placed my tree. This one obviously looks a little bit candy cane-ish. So yeah, it looks a little candy cane-ish, so that's, you know, the direction we're going. Now, one thing that I've seen others do is they'll do different lines, like those different lines that you see there. They'll do them in different colors, which can be really pretty, or you can even just pick like 2 colors and make it work that way. If you're thinking that that would be something cool, that you would like that, the one with the words, it can be done in different colors too, like each line. There's another way to do it. I just kind of kept it really simple, you know, on this particular time around. It just depends on your mood, right? Make things complicated, make them simple. They're all going to turn out gorgeous. And there it is. Ah, isn't that nice? I like it. So now this one's a little bit more on the whimsical side as far as like my decor goes. So I'm going to go ahead and add some of these little Scrabble tiles. Now they came in a pack from Amazon. I don't know why. I couldn't think of what the heck it was. Anyways, they came in a pack from Amazon, and now they, you know, it always figures is like the letters you need always somehow magically go to the bottom side of the bag. But I'm just adding hot glue, as you can see here, and just kind of putting them all in there just to make a cute little candy cane thing. Not that you didn't get the gist of that from the red and the white, but anyways, it just adds a cute little playful touch to it. And I'll have them down in my storefront from Amazon if you are interested in checking them out. But eventually I will be done doing this. Like I said, it's just a cute little touch. You can kind of embellish these however you want, and then we will have the finished look. There you go. The finished look. It's super cute though. I think that it'll go really well with my hot cocoa bar, which you're going to see soon. I have this really adorable little rolling pin from Hobby Lobby. They had it in their Christmas section. I went ahead and did my wood tint in gray and walnut on the outside of it because it's wood. And I'm going to take this Christmas tree, and I know what you're thinking, Theresa, that's a rolling pin. It's not big enough for that. This Christmas tree has a really pretty little pattern. It's like little bits of holly berries and holly leaves and all around beautiful Christmasness. What I should have done, I should have carried that pattern onto the rolling pin next to the words, but I did not do that, and I did not go through and change it. So you're going to get the basic idea. Now, in my opinion, Chalk Couture transfers do not do terribly well on curved surfaces, in my opinion. Now this one, it is the first time I am using it, so it worked okay. There's one spot that ended up coming through a little smudged, and that's mostly because it's on a curved surface. Now, like I said, this is the first time I've used it, so that is my thought. If you're going to do a curved surface, if you can do it towards the beginning part of that transfer's life, that's probably best. But here you can kind of get an idea of how it looks. It's just a cute little touch to add to, you know, like a tiered tray or something adorable. All right, everyone, it's chalking time. So this is the Club Couture transfer for the month of November. It is so stinking cute. I can't help it. Ignore the board off to the side. I didn't end up doing that. And what I'm doing here is I am fuzzing my transfer. That's going to remove some of that stickiness. And I'm going to use one of these Dollar Tree, I'm getting so big and tall chalkboards. I actually sanded off all of that white on the front. You can do that with like your orbital sander. And I'm taking my squeegee. This is actually a mini squeegee that I cut in half, so it gives me a little bit better precision. And I'm using the bright white paste on the top and bottom writing. As you can tell, I've already used it once, this transfer. They are reusable. You can use them, they usually say like up to 10 times, but you can then, if they've lost like all of their stickiness, you can actually spray them with like a spray adhesive made for stencils. So really cool. You get like unlimited uses if you do that. This color here is Candy Apple Red. It's like the perfect Christmas red. I might make like add in like some of the black paste and make it a little bit darker for some other projects. I've been thinking about that. You can mix and match, or not mix and match, but you can mix up all different colored pastes to get kind of like your own custom color. And so you've got like tons and tons of different possibilities. And now I am using Shimmer Harvest. It's kind of like a gold, but it's a little bit more yellowy. It's like a very like super like antique-y gold. I think you know what I mean, at least. The shimmers are a lot of fun because they give it just a little something more. You know, it's glitter, but you don't have to worry about it absolutely everywhere. And here's the peel, and this one was a little harder because I did not wax my surface, and I probably could have fuzzed a little bit more. But it's all right. You're just wanting to pull it off pretty slow. That way you're not going to stretch that transfer. This is made out of like a fabric-y material, and you don't want to stretch it, the backing part where all the adhesive is, because it'd look a little weird. Once we're done with that, I am going to add some little embellishments because we can't just stop there. I mean, what would we do with that, right? And I'm going to put in some hot glue, and we're going to just put a little bit of this really cute red and white twine. I only had a little of it, so I had to, I had to really make this stuff work for me. And I used my little clip there just while my glue set up a little so that it wouldn't end up going all over the place. Because like I said, I didn't have a ton of this twine. Didn't have that much. Once we're done with that, I'm going to take a stick. However, I broke this. I snapped it right in half, and I was like, oh, I should have hit that thing with with my heat gun, and I didn't. So I've got 2 of the big gallon size paint stir sticks, and I glued them together just using some wood glue and hot glue. And I am using some of my black ink chalk paint from Waverly, and I am just spritzing some water on the wood and then going over with it and then rubbing off the excess. It's giving me kind of like a stained effect, but it just, this method is very messy. So put something down underneath it that you can easily just throw away. Next, I'm going to take that broken stick, and I'm going to reinforce the back a little bit because it is rather tall, so you're wanting something to kind of reinforce it. And then I hit myself with the hot glue, and I hurt myself, so I needed a Band-Aid after that one. It really hurt. Next, we're just going to add some wood glue up to the top, and then some we're going to do hot glue after the fact. I ended up doing just the wood glue at first, and it wasn't holding it the way I wanted. So Always kind of do that combo. It works the best to do both. Hot glue, wood glue. There we go. Now I added it. And we're going to just fix our sign up on the top of these paint stir sticks. Now you can make them however long you want. I didn't make the bottom like a triangle, so if you wanted to put it in the ground, that's what I would recommend. So now we're going to add a little bit of detail. This part is totally optional and completely based on preference, but I've got some of these little picks from, well, it's not really a little pick. It's one really large pick. I'm going to use it through like almost every project in this video. If they're from Hobby Lobby, they're pretty gorgeous, I have to say. They're like flocked in different types of greenery and pine and just really pretty. They have little pine cones, they have little berries, they got a little bit of everything in them. So I'm just going to kind of like pick apart what I want and start kind of hot gluing it on to my sign. My little post of my sign, it's going to be adorable. You guys cannot even begin to imagine how cute this is. I showed it to my mom when it was done and she was like, yeah, I like it. I'd like to have that. Please, thank you. Next, I'm taking some rustic white bells. Yeah, we're going to call them that. They're like little sleigh bells. They're really cute. Jingle bells. There we go. Couldn't think of the right name for them. I need more coffee. And I'm going to take them and I kind of like put them augmented. Okay, I can talk, I promise. And with some twine, and I'm just going to kind of wrap it around the little greenery sprig situation we have going on. And then once I get that there, it happens eventually, guys. I played around with this thing like way too long, to be honest. Once we get it there, it'll be pretty much done. Now, this Club Couture transfer is available for this month only. If you love it and you want to join the club, I've got info down below. Just so you know, it is $19.99 a month. And you, like I said, you get a lot of uses at it. And you get those 3 paste colors too. Let me know down below and we will chat about it. But anyways, here's how it turned out. I definitely need to add like a little bucket or something on the bottom. Let me know your ideas. All right, on to the next one. All right, this is a little lantern from the Dollar Tree. It took a little bit of work, but I got the lid off. At first, it didn't want to come off. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to tape up all of my snowflakes, and I'm going to take it outside and I'm going to spray paint it because it's really pretty white, but I wanted to give it a more realistic look. And look at this. You would not look at that and say, that's plastic. I was so excited about this. So it took a little bit of time to get it all taped up. I'm not going to lie about that. And I actually did spray paint that with a Rust-Oleum hammered black spray paint. And then we're going to get on the struggle bus and put that candle back in. It does go back in. You have to get it in just the right spot though. Now, because some of the black paint got on the snowflakes, I am taking some chalk paint from Folk Art. It is called White Adirondack, and I am pretty much like stippling it onto the snowflake. It's going to add a little bit of texture, and I am okay with that. I felt like it made it look a little more snow-like. I don't know. Guys, I don't live somewhere where it snows. I have seen snow, but I don't live where it snows, so I don't have a regular study of what snowflakes look like. But in my mind, it made sense. And then I ended up getting a little bit on the sides, and I was like, nope, this is perfect. I'm going to stipple a little bit of the white all around on the black spray painted part. And then we will take some antique wax, and I'm going to, first I started stippling and decided it was getting a little too much on my snowflakes. I tried to cover it up. It didn't work. Anyways, I'm just going to take a flat brush and paint it over it. I mean, you don't need to worry too much about like trying to add more texture. You got it already from the spray paint, from the when you stippled on the white. And I'm just going to glide over everywhere that I have that white paint around the sides. And you'll see here, it looks like it's got a little bit of a rusted effect. I'm loving it. Then we're going to take that same pick. See, this gives you a little bit better of a view of what the whole thing is. It was $5 and that was on sale. It was normally $10, I think is like the full price. Granted, that's a bit, you know, for a pick, but I decided it was worth it. Their picks are gorgeous. You get them on sale for 50% off all the time. And I'm just going to take a couple of different things and I'm just going to start putting it in around my candle. I thought that it was going to give it like a really pretty look where you could kind of see through, where you see the, the snowflakes, and in between it it's going to have this greens and reds, and we're going like super traditional Christmas colors if you hadn't figured that out, with a little bit of a twist because I added in a lot of black. I thought that that was fun. And yep, these little berries, they come apart. I like these better than the ones at Dollar Tree because they don't just fall off of the picks. So it's all preference though. You can definitely do this with Dollar Tree ones too. Once they're all in there, here it is, all finished up. You see with the little glow, it's just perfect. We are on to the next one, and obviously this is also still from the Dollar Tree. That's kind of a theme today, and it's a red sleigh. I get the two confused all the time. I took it outside and did just kind of like a quick coat of black spray paint, ran out of spray paint, and then did some ink chalk paint from Waverly. I also then coated it with some clear wax. I know, lots of stuff going on this one. And then I'm going to take some white wax. Those are both from Folk Art. You can get them from pretty much anywhere. Any cut brand that makes the wax, this will work for, in my opinion at least. And I'm going to take it and I'm going over the top part where all of those details are. And this is just going to give us kind of like an old worn look. And I'm going to go over the sides, like the paneling part of it. I don't know, maybe you'd call it a panel. You guys will have to tell me. I am not a Santa sleigh aficionado, but we're gonna do this all the way around. You're going to do it in small sections, otherwise your wax will dry and you will not be able to wipe off much of it. So work quickly or work in smaller sections basically. I obviously sped this up about 4 times, so I wasn't working this fast. I wish I could do this fast. All right, once we're done with that, I'm going to take this really cute printout that I have, and I am going to link it for you below where I got it. I'm going to actually mix in a little bit of antique wax with the white wax and give it a quick glossing over to kind of dull down some of that newness. Now, this is actually from Creative Fabrica. I might be wrong about the name. I'm sorry if I am. And I'm going to list it down for you below because I worked out a little deal with them and I have their all access available for you guys for 1 month for $1. I tried to get it for free, but 1 month for $1 was the best I could get them to do. And it does renew automatically. I'm going to be using them a lot in this next month or so, maybe more. And it does renew at, $19 a month. So just make sure you cancel it if you don't want it, at the full price. So that was attached with some Craft Bond glue. It was just a sheet of paper that I printed off from the printer. And now I'm making the little runners for my sleigh. I did it again. Just some super glue, some hot glue, same thing like normal. And I've used, I think, the rest of the pick that we've been using. And I'm going to add a little bit of lighting because what is it at Christmas time without some lights? This is just a little gold strand of lighting, like fairy lights from the Dollar Tree. I'm just going to tuck them all in there and make it to where I can get to the little battery pack, and I'm going to top it with this little wood guy, also from Dollar Tree. And here it all is. It turned out really cute too. These are very cute, traditional, just perfect for Christmas. All right, I believe this is our last one. I might be lying. I think I'm lying. All right, so anyways, we've got this really cute little guy who is part of like this little snow globe, and we're gonna make it even cuter. This is left over, at least for me, for last year. I believe I've seen them this year. And then these little packs of like little 3-dimensional little kits things. I don't know I can't remember what they're called. Those are just new this year, and I'm going to take my Arteza paint markers and we're going to kind of use that. I was going to use the white, then I decided against it. So just kidding. I'm going to use my Folk Art white Adirondack paint, and I'm just going to do a full coat over him completely. This little snowman is going to get really cute here in just a minute though. So 1 full coat. Now what's cool about it is the lining that they have on there, you can actually still see it underneath the white paint. So it's kind of giving me like a little guideline. Now I'm taking my Arteza paint markers and I am going to fill in his little hat in black, and we're basically just going to color him in. These are nice for some more precision, a little bit more control than like what I would get with a paintbrush. I don't know if it's just me, but I have a hard time anymore with just doing like little fine detail with paint. I'm going to do his little eyes, his little buttons, and here in just a second, I think I finished him up off camera with the rest of the paint markers. And yep, there he is. So I did his gloves, I did his little, scarf, and I'm going to take some red because somehow I don't have red. I don't know how that happened, but I don't have a red one. And I'm taking, this is Waverly chalk paint in crimson, and I'm going to fill in that little bird. And now that little bird is going to be a cardinal because cardinals are Christmassy, they're a Christmas thing. Now these Arteza paint markers, they do have two sides, like one is pointy, one is rounded. Make sure you put the rounded one like back facing out when you put the lid on, otherwise you smush it. I've got some red and white snowflake paper that I got from Hobby Lobby. It's just a pack of paper. I'm going to trace around it, of course, to make this my little background on my snow globe. You can paint it, you can do whatever you want. Maybe you are very artsy, unlike me, you can paint a really pretty background. That would be amazing. I cannot do that, however. I could barely paint in the snowman, so this is what we're going with. I'm going to cut it down. First I was going to do it on the base and change my mind, but then we'll just put it down using that same glue stick. I love this stuff. I'm going to have it linked. I have an Amazon storefront now, so that's cool. I'm going to link it for you below, though. All my links are always down below in the description box. Now you can go check out my Amazon storefront with all of my crafty stuff that I've been loving. They're categorized for you for ease. Go check them out if you want to. I'm going to take off the excess paper with a sanding block, make it super easy, super quick. And we'll take our antique wax and we're just going to go around the base and then around the outside part too. Now, in hindsight, I should have done the base in black and done red around the outside part of the little globe. It would have made more sense, but I didn't do it. I am adding in some white just because I wanted to make it a little bit lighter in color. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that same white and give it kind of like a little bit of a glare. Obviously if this was a snow globe, it would have a glare. I know it's not obviously very realistic because it's red with white snowflakes, but that was the color scheme I was going for today. Once we do that, we have to attach our cute little snowman. We're just going to throw on some hot glue on the back of him. And we'll put him down, being careful not to burn myself this time. Once I do that, I was like, well, I need to take care of that little lip he's got on the bottom. I was on the fence, snow or not. I ended up with some string, as you can tell. He turned out pretty cute though, I have to say. He's a cute little shelf sitter. All right, this one's the last one. I've got this Comfort and Joy little sign from Dollar Tree. Again, I went ahead and sanded down everything, took it all apart. Some heat gun action, comes apart like a dream. And we're using that same scrapbook paper and my same glue stick. Like I said, I am loving it. And then once we are done with that, I'm just going to trim it up. This time I'm going to just use my X-Acto knife and trim it all around. I'm painting my frame in that ink chalk paint, and we're going to do this create your own ornament in that same ink paint. And then I'm going to go over the deer with some gold paint. I'm going to have all the colors listed for you below. I always do that. I always list all my paint colors for you down below. That way, if you're interested in it, you can look up the name. Hot glue that guy onto the little sign, and then he needed some jingle bells, and these jingle bells took me a solid 12 minutes to figure out how I wanted to put them. Do not let it take 12 minutes for you to figure out where to put them. So I'm speeding this up quite a bit. I've edited out quite a bit. It's just, I don't know why I was just struggling with what to do with these little bells, but I knew I wanted bells because I have another project on here where that had bells, my sign, and I like to try to tie things together on these videos so that they, kind of flow. Like I said though, this took forever. I don't know what the heck happened. So sit back, relax, watch me fix these bells. All right, once I've gotten them into a quasi spot, see, I was still like, nope, don't like where that is. Let me fix it. Put it up a little higher. These are pretty thin bells. They're actually also from the Dollar Tree. They have them out in like every color of bells that you could want. We're going to hot glue the frame back on. Again, being careful not to burn yourself. And then I'll just make those holes back up in the top. And I will put back my beads. I thought about painting them in white, but changed my mind, decided just to leave them that natural wood color. It's pretty close to white. Mostly because I was lazy and I did not feel like taking them off the string and painting them and then putting them back on the string, to be honest with you. All right, we're just going to tie a knot or two and glue them down just so we know they're not going to go anywhere. And that one's done. And it turned out pretty cute as well. Starting off with this pine board, it is one of those boards that's all glued together and all that, and I am going to do a little bit of wood burning on it. I've got this design that I got from Creative Fabrica, and I printed it out on my Cricut, and I've got it all ready to apply onto my board, and like magic, there it is. No need to watch the struggle, right? I'm just going to remove all of that transfer tape, of course. And I have found personally, I think that the more like square or rectangles are my favorite to do because there is like, if you don't put it exactly, you know, centered like from top to bottom, I'm not too worried about it. And I do find it easier to get it from side to side centered, if that makes sense. And I am going to take some torch paste. I'm going to link where I got it below in case you want to pick any of it up. And I am going to just stipple that on. And it takes a lot longer to do it this method, in my opinion, than what it did when I had one of my transfers from Chocator. I think that that is a much faster method. Just to let you know, I did actually use it on one of my Chocator transfers in my last video. I will link that for you below. That way you can check it out if you want to. And I go through the process of stippling this all on, and then we're ready to remove the vinyl. Now, when you're doing this, just so you know, I got quite a bit of that paste like on my hands, you know, like while I'm removing it. I waited for it to dry pretty good. Like it was pretty dry by the time I started taking off the vinyl. And you're going to remove the vinyl just like you normally would. And just like as if you had done paint instead of the actual torch paste. Now, again, it is kind of a little bit like sticky-ish on the vinyl. So once you're done removing all of it, make sure you wash your hands because it's made to burn. So, if you apply it with heat. So, not that it's going to burn your skin, but we're going to go ahead and start burning the wood. Now, I am using like one of those more industrial type of heat guns. I'll link it for you below in my Amazon storefront, which one I picked up. It's reasonably inexpensive, to be honest. And this is, put into more like a 5 times speed. So it isn't this fast. You go pretty slow, making very smooth motions to really get that wood burning going. And now I would not recommend using this kind of board if you have a big design like this, because I did experience some cracking, and you're going to hear it in a minute. So if your phone's up really loud, turn it down a little bit. But I may have let the smoke alarm go off, and here goes. Yeah, it's going off on my house. But that's all right. So we're going to keep going, though. I ended up finishing it up, and it did warp the board. It did crack the board a little. Remember, these are all glued together. We're going to fix that a little bit. This is for me, so I'm not terribly worried if it's not perfect, but just be aware of that, I should say. I'm going to take some Star Bond medium glue. This is like a medium. It's a glue, but it's also a gap filler. I have the thicker format for the gap filler, but this is such a tiny little crack. And don't mind my head in the way there. But what I'm doing is it comes with these little tiny nozzles. So I just attach that to the glue, and I'm just going to fill in the hole. The crack. What I would suggest doing too, that I didn't do and I should have, is after you fill in the little cracks or whatever, you can wipe it away and then use your accelerator. And that'll just make it, basically fixes up everything. And then I was sanding it down and I was like, oh, it's sanding off some of my burn and it's kind of applying that to the rest of the wood. I'm like, I kind of like that. So I ended up taking a pretty fine grit sandpaper and I'm just going through and sanding it down pretty much all over. And what I'm trying to do mostly is to make it smooth where I applied my Star Bond, and otherwise also making it smooth just so I can apply my top coat and smearing around my, my soot, essentially, I guess is what it is. I like the look of it. I do wipe it down just a little bit because I don't want to have tons and tons all over everything. Once I have done that, I will go ahead and seal this one. You can do it with mineral oil if you are going to put food on it. This is a shellac. I went ahead and took it and put it into its own little cup because I didn't want to get all of that little bits of soot and everything in the full can of the sealer. Again, shellac. I will list it for you below too. This one is not tinted, but apparently you can tint it. I might try that in the future. And I end up doing 2 coats on the top and 1 coat around the sides and the bottom. And I needed a little something. It needed either handles or feet or something. So we're going to make this into a riser. What I did is I just painted some of these little things as feet. They're from that brain teaser game from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to add a little bit of the Star Bond adhesive, and you really only need a tiny little bit. And then I'm going to spray the accelerator on my board, and that sucker is stuck. It isn't going anywhere. Now these obviously have holes, so just be mindful of where you're putting the holes. I have one that's on the board and then I have them facing kind of more inward, so you can't really see it. Except for the first one I did. I made a little bit of a mistake, but that's okay. No one can see it and it's for me. So here's how it turned out. I'll show you the hot cocoa bar in just a few minutes when we get done. All right, so we're going to do some chocolate. You're not surprised, I'm sure. So I am taking this one transfer. This is a 5x7 or an A-size transfer, and it says snuggle weather. How perfect, right? I liked it because I could leave it up all, winter. Not that we really have much of a winter in Florida, but I'm going to pretend. And I am taking the color Shimmer Frost, and I was on the fence. Originally, I was like, well, maybe I should do some red and some silver, this shimmery silver color. And I decided just to do the whole thing in the Shimmer Frost. I decided, you know what, I'm going to keep it really pretty and very classic, and I'm just going to apply that completely. Again, see, originally I was trying to keep away from the word snuggle, and then I just gave up. I was like, nope, we're just gonna go for it. It has a lot of different details, and this would be really pretty depending on the colors if you did kind of an ombre effect. Anyways, maybe another day, right? And I'm applying this, and this board is actually one of the reusable boards. I'll have it listed for you below. It comes with this really pretty pillar, which I'll show you in just a minute. With the shimmers, you want to kind of give it a second pass over just to get some of that glitter through the screen. And as I struggle to get the corner of my transfer, here we go. This is live. This is real time. So, and here's the peel, and you'll just see, this is kind of the magic of it, is that you get such beautiful crisp lines, and it's washable. So come the heat of summer, I won't have a snuggle weather sign anymore. And I'm going to take this one too. This is actually part of a 4-pack. And I'm going to just add it onto my little chockable chip. Is also a Chocateur surface. I'm going to do it backwards, where basically I put the transfer down on the table and then I put the chip on top of it. It just seems like that's the easiest method in this case. And it was going to stick to my desk, so I was like, well, I'll just put it right on top of the backing. And I'll smooth everything down, and then I'm going to do the same color as I did on the last one, is that same Shimmer Frost color. It's just kind of perfect for winter and everything like that. So we're just going to take our squeegee, just like before, and I'm just going to go through the whole thing. And again, on the Shimmer Frost ones, you want to give it a second pass to try and press some of that glitter. It's like a super, super fine glitter. And it doesn't get everywhere, at least not in your craft room. It'll get everywhere when you rinse off your transfer, but you know what? Sometimes you have to make sacrifices if you want to have glitter. And once I do that, I just scoop off all of the excess, put it back in my jar, and then we will do the peel eventually sometime. Oh, I had a little spot that looked like it was lacking. I will take it up and peel it back, and because again it's like such a smaller surface compared to the transfer, I just hold it tight, and it turned out really cute. See, there's the pillar for this little surface. Like I said, I will link it for you below. And what's cool is you can do it in the horizontal or in the vertical like format. Landscape or portrait. And then I'm going to take my crocodile and I'm going to punch a little hole in my chockable chip. At this point, my paste is already dry. And eventually, yep, here we go. I was like, come on, what are you doing? You're just going to get a little hole. I decided not to try to get the center because I wanted it to kind of sit a little bit at an angle. It's as easy as that. And I'll have that crocodile listed below in my Amazon storefront as well, if you want to check it out. It's a good Christmas gift too. I've got just some regular red ribbon. This thing has been in my stash for who knows how many years. I'm just going to put it around a couple of times around the pillar, and then I'm just going to tie just a regular old bow. It takes me a minute to kind of get it all situated and figured out, but you get the basic gist of it. It's going to be a cute little thing to add to my hot cocoa bar. There it is. You'll see, like I said, you'll see the whole thing here in just a second. We got one more to do though. I have a printable here. This is from Creative Fabrica, and I will have that linked below as well. If you want to sign up for a month-long subscription with them, it is a special thing that they have set up for me for $1. I'll have it linked for you. It'll renew at like $19. So make sure if you want to cancel it, you do that before it, hits that full price. Now I've got a piece of tissue paper that has obviously been just folded up and forgotten. I am going to tape it down to a sheet of paper, and we're basically going to make like our own decoupage paper. Now obviously this is pretty wrinkled, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my little Cricut mini heat press, and I'm going to put it on like the lowest setting, and I'm going to just kind of iron out some of those wrinkles. If you do not have a little mini heat press or a heat press at all, you can use just a regular iron, obviously without the steam, or you store your tissue paper in a manner that it doesn't wrinkle this much. So it just kind of depends. Like I said, this was just sitting somewhere. It was scrap, so I figured why not use it, right? I do front and back because the paper starts to kind of want to fold, not really fold, but it kind of wants to curve a little. I print that all out, and now I've got a piece of wood, just a random little piece of wood. Originally, this little guy was going to be a coaster, but I am incapable of cutting something all the same shapes and sizes, so it's not a coaster. It's going to be a little sign. I've got my Waverly plaster paint, and I spritzed some water down on the wood and some water onto the paint, like when it's sitting on the wood, to get more of like a wash. Now here's my little hot cocoa bomb sign, and I'm just going to apply just a little bit of Mod Podge, and then we'll just stick it down onto the little wood sign, smooth it on down. And like I said, just be careful because it is tissue paper. It is pretty thin. You can obviously also do this just with regular printer paper. It kind of depends on what you're going for. I'm going to dry it just a little bit. This is on the cool setting on this heat gun because I don't want to catch anything on fire again. And then I'm taking that same little heat press and I'm just going over it, and it's going to smooth out the wrinkles. It doesn't eliminate them entirely. It just kind of smooths them out, makes them a little less like obvious. I don't know the right word for that. Then I'm going to take some antique wax, and I'm just going to very, very lightly go over it. I figured if I had any wrinkles, I want it to be a little more amplified. It's going to, obviously the antique wax is going to grab onto those wrinkles. I wanted to add a little bit of age, so I go in a little bit more, with a little bit more of the antique wax, like around the perimeter of this little sign. I think it just adds just a cute little touch, gives it a little bit dimension, gives it just a little bit of worn. This cocoa bar that you're going to see here in a minute is actually on a faux dry sink. Obviously, it's not like a real dry sink, but it's a dry sink that my grandfather made years and years and years ago, and he passed away a few years ago, and now I have it. So I have a whole set. I'll have to show you guys sometime. So I do the coat of Mod Podge on the top just to kind of seal everything in, which is optional. But here's how it turned out. It turned out really, really cute. Now I'm going to show you kind of like the whole setup. So here is the hot cocoa bar. I've got my really cute little hot cocoa riser there, and I've got some jars. The big one is from IKEA. The small ones are from Target. Those white and pink, that's hot cocoa. My daughter is gonna love it, hot, like pink hot cocoa. I've got that little box and that little sign right there on the back I made. I will link the video below for you. I've got just some cute little things added in, another little box from Target, a little pitcher with candy canes, just a cute little setup. And again, that dry sink was something that I got from my grandfather, super special to me. I hope that you all enjoyed those little blasts from the past DIYs, all from Christmas of last year. I hope that it was a little trip down memory lane, or maybe some of you saw it for the first time. I will be, of course, starting up some brand new Christmas DIYs coming up very, very soon, and I can't wait to show them to you, and hope you guys are having a great and wonderful day.